Welcome back to Breakfast. It's 8:38 and we're joined now by Reform UK London mayoral candidate for 2028, Laila Cunningham. Very good morning to you, Laila. Now, for people who don't know too much about you, you've been described, haven't you, as vigilante mum. And this would be very important, wouldn't it, when it came to prioritising law and order, which you said you'd like to do if you become London mayor in 2028. How would you tackle crime in the capital?
It's about restoring trust, really, and making London safe again. I mean, we hear that there haven't been full vetting of officers. Last year, the story was that a child rapist, a man accused of raping a child, was allowed to join the Met in 2020. After a vetting panel overturned his rejection because of diversity targets. And I think this is endemic of what's going on in the Met. They've kind of forgotten why they're here. You know, we have 32,000 officers. I don't see any of them. I go, when you go to Oxford Street or areas which are high crime areas, I don't see any police on the streets. And so I'd like to restore visible policing. And I'd like to have a zero tolerance approach to crime. Even shoplifting, it might just cost 20, 30, 40 pounds, but it's very corrosive to the community. When you see the same person walking out, it's intimidating to the staff. It puts prices up, and I think there has been a very kind of lax attitude to crime. And we are living in a rape epidemic, knife crime epidemic, shoplifting, robbery, you name it. And frankly, Londoners shouldn't have to put up with it anymore, because the first duty of any mayor is to keep us safe.
Well, yes, absolutely. The issue you've got, though, is that it's very easy to look at something that is failing and say this needs to change. It's how you implement those changes. It's how you actually achieve changes.
Of course, but so Sadiq Khan has acted almost like a bystander. But he is the Police and Crime Commissioner. He sets the budget, he sets the targets, he sets the priorities. And let's not forget, while violent crime was going up, he created, specialist squads to monitor hate crime, words. And so my priority would be to task special forces to target the violent crime that matters. Knife crime, rape. I mean, rape is really, it's an epidemic. I speak to so many victims that the Met look at them and go, you know what, we're not going to go ahead with it because there's not enough evidence. And that's got to change. Women have to have trust in the police that they're going to support them in a prosecution, and that's not happening right now. So you'd have to redirect them to what they're focused on. And if the commissioner, if anyone at the top is not making that happen, then he's got to go. I mean, Mark Riley and Sadiq Khan looked at us and said there were no grooming gangs in London, and then turned around after public pressure and said there were 9,000 that we're going to review. That's just not on. That's not acceptable.
There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GBNews viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 months extra for free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN.
You defected from the Tories to join Reform UK last year. You've since said you don't want to see Robert Jenrick to join Reform UK. Why not, when you've welcomed a number of former Tory MPs to the party. Nigel Farage has said he's open to the idea of Robert Jenrick joining Reform. What's your problem with Robert Jenrick?
What I said was it was under him that the hotels flourished. The migrant hotels were at their peak. And he must take blame for that. But it's not a decision for me who comes to the party. And if someone loves this country and wants to atone for their sins and make it better, then, you know, they can come. But for me, I do remember that Robert Jenrick was the minister when the migrant hotels were at their peak. And that's something you can't forget. That's what I said. I'm sure he's a great person in person, you know. I don't even know if he wants to defect to Reform.
No, well, he certainly hasn't said anything as yet on that front. I was going to say, in terms of atoning for their sins, I mean, you've got to have people, if you're going to get votes in 2028, people have to trust you. The Times reporting this morning that 3 companies, that either which you owned or were a director of, were struck off by Companies House because you didn't file the required documents. How will you convince people that you can run a city like London when there are questions about how you've run a company?
Well, they're not. So, like many entrepreneurs in my past, I've set up small companies over the years to try out, you know, different ideas, and some became inactive. And when they become dormant, admin lapses, and that happens to, you know, hundreds of thousands of dormant companies every year. There was never any wrongdoing. It was a dormant company being struck off, and Companies House routinely does that. It's designed to kind of clear dead companies out of the register. I think over 600,000. That happened to over 600,000 companies last year. And lots of people set up small companies to test ideas, side projects, and startups that never really trade in the end. And that's what happened. It's got nothing to do with trust. It's actually one of the companies I put a lot of money, lost a lot of money. I took risk with that. And I think that's something we should encourage. Entrepreneurship.
Your Reform colleague, Sarah Pochin, has talking about wanting to ban the burqa. Is that something that you would agree with?
I think we should ban all face coverings. Yes, I do. Because I think in an open society, you shouldn't go around covering your face. And, you know, I have prosecuted women in a burqa in court, and the judge says you can't remove it. I asked the judge, can we please have her remove the burqa? I made an application, and the judge said, no, these are religious sensitivities. And I had to prosecute someone in a burqa. So I think all face coverings should be subject to stop and search or being stopped by the police.
Is that, I mean, you are a Muslim yourself, aren't you? Which adds an interesting perspective to that.
But covering your face has nothing to do with the religion. It's tradition. It comes from Wahhabism. It comes from very extreme traditions of, I would say, the religion or the region. But there's nothing in the religion that says you have to cover your face. OK, there we are, sadly out of time. Laila Cunningham, it's really good to talk to you. We'll talk again, no doubt. Thank you very much.